I immediately noticed that the game seemed to be running near 4K at 30 frames per second. Naturally, I headed straight to the options menu to see if 60 FPS was available instead. What I discovered was a welcome surprise. You see, Ghost of Yōtei supports ray tracing. Now, ray traced lighting is a perfect match for an expansive game like this, yet prior to release, any online search pairing Ghost of Yōtei with ray tracing would have come up empty. It's a feature the developers have never promoted or even mentioned, but it's here, quietly waiting to be found, and the results are excellent both on the base and professional PlayStation 5s. If you're playing on a PS5 Pro even, you can enjoy it at a full 60 frames per second. But of course, you might wonder, what does it actually do? Well, in a word, global illumination, but with some limitations. Essentially, it seems to add an additional pass of ray trace lighting to the scenery, allowing for proper, precise bounce lighting with color transfer. To illustrate what I mean, check this out. Without ray tracing enabled, the pots visible in this scene exhibit a moderate orangish glow as a result of the sun, but it lacks any sort of precision and direction, and the shadowed areas are dark. Enabling ray tracing, however, immediately showcases a stark difference. Light travels from the window, bounces off the wooden shelf, and light is reflected up onto the underside of each clay jug. It's very localized and precise, suggesting a per-pixel solution. What it essentially means is that the scenes are lit with increased precision and realism, and while not as robust as games designed from the ground up for RTGI, the results are excellent all the same, and is my recommended way of playing the game. You can clearly observe here how ray tracing contributes to subtle light bounce effects. Note the illumination visible on the underside of Atsu's hat, a detail that would be absent using a purely rasterized solution. This implementation simply allows for a more robust simulation of light transport. That said, while it does greatly enhance the presentation as you've seen here so far, the implementation itself appears to be a hybrid of sorts, likely building on the existing probe-based system. It's evident in how NPCs tend to stand out visually. They lack the grounded integration you'd expect if they were part of the ray tracing acceleration structure, not unlike what we've seen in software-based Lumen implementations. The game also still leverages a lot of screen space effects such as ambient occlusion, as opposed to the more natural contact shadows you might get from a more robust RTGI. Interestingly, Atsu herself seems to be treated differently. I noticed color bleed from her outfit appearing on nearby geometry such as trees, the light from the sun bouncing off of it. You'll note that even when she's occluded from view, the tree exhibits a residual yellow glow, which suggests that she alone may be included in the BVH structure, allowing for more accurate light interactions where it matters. Now, this isn't as comprehensive or robust as the full RTGI suite seen in other games, such as Doom the Dark Ages, but the inclusion of ray tracing here still elevates the visual presentation to the next level, allowing it to feel like a noticeable upgrade over the PS4 original. It adds nuance and depth to the lighting model, and for those playing on PS5 Pro, I'd absolutely recommend playing with this mode. That said, the traditional rasterized lighting pass remains impressive in its own right. Technically, it's comparable to the original game, but the artistry has evolved. The environments feel more cohesive and visually rich this time, even though they were already beautiful in the original. So, let's say you're jumping in, you're sold on the game, you want to give it a shot. You might be wondering then, what's the best way to play? After all, when you open up the options menu, you'll find up to 4 different graphics modes, 3 on the base PS5, and 4 on PS5 Pro. So, what do they do, and how do they impact the game? When starting the game for the first time then, Yōtei targets 30 frames per second with a resolution of 3840 by 2160 or native 4K, without ray tracing. If you're looking for the best image quality, this is the mode to go with. When counting the base PS5, I usually got around 28 out of 30 pixels, so the resolution is a little below 4K, but the image quality is still excellent. Then there's the performance mode, which targets 60 frames per second. This one drops down to around 1440p, also without ray tracing. The base PS5 version, however, is closer to 1080p, just slightly above. Then there's the normal ray tracing mode, which is capped at 30 frames per second, but is available on both regular and professional PlayStation 5s. This one comes in around 1728p or so from what I've found, but closer to 1440p on the base system. And thanks to the excellent TAA in the game, it's still very sharp and crisp, but you can use RT features. My favorite mode though is the RT Pro option. This one offers 60 FPS gameplay with ray tracing, but it also leans on PSSR for anti-aliasing and upsampling, at least as far as I can tell. The base resolution is a lot lower though, weighing in around 1080p, but the overall image quality is still pretty good in most scenes. But I did find an occasional issue, like here, look at this fine-grained cloth pattern. It's okay enough in the other mode, right? But when you switch to the RT Pro mode, you see a lot of extra noise and sparkle here, likely as a result of PSSR. Conversely, there are areas where the PSSR version has advantages over even the highest resolution quality mode. Like here, there's more stability on the wooden planks on the side of this house, specifically when using PSSR. Honestly, in terms of overall image quality, I do tend to think that the PSSR version trades blows with the highest resolution 4K mode. It's really good. The thing is though, I can't really say that any of the modes are bad per se. They each have their own trade-offs and all deliver the expected results. So it's basically about tilting the needle in the direction that you prefer, right? And this is also true of performance, which thankfully is rather dull. You see, the 30 FPS modes deliver 30 FPS, and that's that. In my testing, I actually struggled to find even a single dip when using these two modes, but you would expect that, right? It's 30 FPS. 60 frames per second, though, is where things get a little more interesting, because if you recall, the state of play featuring this game recently exhibited major performance problems, which left me wondering about the state of the game and its final release. Thankfully, the final game does not have these issues. The overwhelming majority of the time, it delivers a completely locked 60 frames per second without leaning on VRR at all. It's just completely stable. And it was smooth on both the Pro and base consoles. After about 15 hours of play though, I did actually finally find some slowdown, and it occurred during this battle here. But the key here is that the day one patch, which is supposed to arrive alongside the launch of the game, very specifically says that they will be implementing performance improvements for big battles in dense spaces, like this I assume. So given how rare slowdown seems to be already in this current build, I would say we're looking pretty good for launch, and this may be completely cleaned up by then. All this is to say that the frame rate situation is excellent, and by and large you shouldn't encounter many dips at all, so the news on this front is great. That said, beyond the frame rate, I noticed a couple of very odd performance related bugs. Basically, in exactly 2 instances, the game randomly started dropping the sound, and then suddenly, it seized up. I thought the whole thing crashed, but after 10 to 20 seconds or so, the game actually came back and continued as normal. It's hard to say if this is a pre-release bug or not, and maybe it'll be fixed by the time the game launches, but I wanted to flag it here in case you encounter it. So to summarize the presentation, the team has done a great job balancing improvements with development time. It's not a complete overhaul of their tech from the last game by any means, but it also kinda didn't need to be, and what's here looks fantastic. The improvements are certainly welcome. Beyond that, it has great image quality across the board in every mode, and runs almost perfectly with only the occasional hiccup here and there.